Hey Bobcats, Mr. Fleto here. Welcome back to another wonderful week at HMS. I hope everybody enjoyed the long 4-day weekend. I know I did, and I hope everybody is ready to switch gears and get back into learning. We have a little over a month until Thanksgiving break, so let's try to really buckle down, focus, and get down to business these last 5 weeks and make them the best 5-week stretch yet. So, without further ado, here goes Bob lesson number 6. Make it a great week, Bobcats. All right, Bobcats, let's get rolling on Bob lesson number 6. So you want to be rich someday. And I got a quick story to tell about this. This Bob lesson was actually inspired by Mr. Sturgar, who I was having a conversation with after it was either Bob lesson number 3, Bob lesson number 4, and he was telling me how some of his students said, well, Mr. Sturgar, though, you don't need to finish school to get a good job and to make a lot of money, or I don't need to further my education to be rich someday. And so I decided it was time to pull out one of my favorite graphs and talk a little bit more in depth about it today. So thank you to Mr. Sturgar. This Bob lesson is inspired by you and your kids. But first, let's remember to be our best at HMS. Let's be Bob. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. And let's be a learner. All right, before we get started, I think we need to get on the same page, and I need to go over some different levels of educational attainment and define those with you guys so that we are all on the same page. When we get going here, we're going to be looking at 7 or 8 different levels of educational attainment, and I want to define them real quick and talk about what I mean when I say some of these things. The first, less than high school. Okay, less than high school is for those students who fail to graduate with a high school diploma. Now, at HMS, that cannot be any of us. We, at a minimum level, have got to graduate with our high school diploma. No ifs, no buts. Then there's high school graduates. Graduated from high school, then move directly into a job or a career or directly into the real world, as I like to say. We have some of those that graduate from high school and take some college but don't graduate with a degree. We're going to call that some college. We have some that graduate from high school and then go on to a 2-year school like Helena College, or go on to a university and get a 2-year associate's degree. Okay, that's halfway to what I'm going to talk about next, which is a standard college degree, a bachelor's degree. So a bachelor's degree is going to obviously be graduate from high school and you work through, I think it's 120 credits. Don't quote me on that, it's very close, and it typically takes most people 4 years on average to do. That's the standard. Did you graduate from college? Most of the time it's unsaid, it's a bachelor's degree. Then there's a master's degree. Several of your teachers, myself, administration, have master's degrees. Those are bachelor's degree, and then you go back for another 2 years and you specialize even more and you gain more knowledge and education and get a master's degree, excuse me. The last is a doctoral/professional degree. Those are the highest degrees available. Those are people that are doctors that have PhD behind their names. A lot of times those are bachelor's degree plus an additional 4 years to 6 years on average of continuing education. So we have less than high school, some college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctoral professional degree. All right, so now that we've defined what educational attainment is, and I've briefly described the 7 or 8 different levels of educational attainment, I'd like to share with you guys one of my favorite graphs that I found by some researchers from Georgetown University. And what these researchers did is they took the averages or the means of people from with different varying levels of educational attainment, and they looked at how much money they made over their careers. And then they bar graphed it. And as you can see, we have a steady incline. It looks like some steps that are going up to the second level. So, on average, people that failed to graduate from high school, over the lifetime of their career, they earned on average $973,000. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but when you divide that up by 30, it doesn't end up being quite as much as that $973,000 figure says. But what I'd really like to point out is look at how much, on average, people earned who did earn their high school diploma. Okay, and I've actually done the math, and it's $331,000 more on average than those that didn't graduate high school. Okay, so that shows you why it is so important to graduate from high school. But let's take it a step further. Let's look at some of those people that graduated from high school and went and furthered their education and got some more education at college. Even though they didn't graduate, they ended up earning on average $243,000 more than their counterparts that just had a high school diploma. And for some of those that actually got their 2-year degree, got their 2-year certificate, maybe at Helena College, maybe they got their welding, maybe they got their mechanics degree, maybe they got their construction and engineering or their firefighting degree or their nursing associates. There's a whole bunch of them out there. They earned even more, on average $1.7 million over the lifetime of their career, which was $180,000 more than those that took some college but didn't finish with their degree. Now this is where we take a big jump. Those that earn their 4-year bachelor's degree, which is a standard college degree, when you hear people talk about did you graduate from college a lot of times, those people earned $2.2 million plus dollars over the lifetime of their career, okay, or almost $900,000 more than those that just graduated from high school. Folks, that's a lot of money. But let's not stop there. Let's look at master's degree. Those people that went on to earn a master's degree and went to college for 2 more years. Those people earned $2,671,000 on average, or an additional $403,000 from the people that earned their 4-year degree. Okay, and as we could predict, when we go up to the doctoral degree level from the master's, it's up to 3.2 or $581,000, and then when we take this final step, which are people that specialize in being doctors and vets and physicians and lawyers, those people were obviously the top earners at $3.6 million plus over the lifetime of their career. Okay, so let's step back from this a minute and let's talk about what are we trying to show here? What am I trying to show here? It's pretty simple, folks. On average, the higher levels of education you complete, the more money on average you are going to earn over the lifetime of your career. I'm going to let this graph sit up here for a couple more seconds so you guys can really sit back and observe this and let this sit in. And I'm going to remind you that this was inspired by Mr. Sturgar and some of his students that said, I can make a whole lot of money without ever finishing school. And yes, maybe that is the case, and I'm going to show you another graph probably next week where that is the truth. But you're not going to earn as much if you don't finish school and continue. All right, now let's put this all together. On average, the higher level of education you receive, the more you will be compensated in your job or career. Why do you think that is? Let's revisit my favorite word from a couple Bob lessons ago, and that word is knowledge. I talked about how knowledge is key to everything. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have. See, in our society, there is a perception that the more knowledge you have, the higher value you have. And value a lot of the times equates to compensation. The more value you have, the more on average you will be compensated for what you bring to the table. Let me give you an example of this. Let's take 2 different jobs or careers. Let's pretend one is digging holes to put fence posts in. And let's pretend another is doing open heart surgery. Well, with a couple minutes of training and a couple examples, virtually anybody could dig a hole, and they could do that over and over. It doesn't take a whole lot of knowledge to be able to take a shovel and put it down in the ground and scoop it out. Well, an open heart surgeon, on the other hand, that takes years and years and years of training and knowledge about how the whole body works and how surgery works, and there is a ton of knowledge behind that. So we have 2 different careers with literally thousands of careers in between those 2. One has very high levels of knowledge where you're probably going to get compensated quite well for it. The other doesn't take as much knowledge. Virtually anybody can do it, and you're probably not going to get compensated that much for it. All right, let's have a little fun and give away some jelly beans. I want to see who's paying attention out there. So this is what we're going to do, folks. I'm going to leave a box in the counseling office on the table, and I would like you guys to write down your answers on a small piece of paper, no bigger than 2 inches by 2 inches. Put your full name on there, make it legible, and on Friday I'm going to do a drawing, and the first 5 answers I draw out that are the correct answers are going to win a Jelly Bean packet. So here we go. The question is, how much more on average would someone with a master's degree earn over their lifetime than someone with an associate's degree? I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to look at the graph here. Ready, set, go. All right, so to conclude here in this week's Bob lesson, I could have probably started with this picture because it kind of sums everything up, but I wanted to put a little data behind it so that you know I'm being truthful. And the primary takeaway from today's Bob lesson should be the more you learn, the more you'll earn someday. Remember, the title of this lesson was So You Want to Be Rich Someday, and this is particularly for Mr. Sturgar and some of his advisor folks, but this goes for the entire school. The more you learn, the more you'll earn. So keep that in mind when you're going through school. Keep that in mind when you're wanting to do very well and put some of these skills that I've been sharing with you guys the last couple weeks, some of my tips. Remember when we want to put these into use. And the quote of the week comes from Kipp, who said, Mr. Flato, you can't be a smart cookie without a crumbling attitude. That's 100% right, Kipp. We got to bring a great attitude to school every day, an attitude that we are ready to learn, an attitude that we are ready to work, and an attitude that we are willing to have a great attitude about it. As always, I hope you guys like this Bob lesson. Thanks for all the positive comments and the honest comments I hear from you guys too when I see you in the halls. I've been working hard to bring you guys awesome information. We're going to switch gears here starting next Bobcat lesson, and I'm going to show some faces of some 8th grade students here. We're going to break into kind of a different domain here, start talking about some respect and some other very important things. So in the meantime, I hope you guys make it a great week, Bobcats.